Hey everybody, here's vlog number 3 for Be Libre with Andy. Um, it looks like every other day is gonna be how this plays out. I think my circadian vlogging rhythm of my body is telling me every other day is best for doing this thing. All things considered, everything else that I'm juggling on my plate at the moment, studying for the bar. That happens at the end of February, so whoever's out there listening, just wish me all the best. Um, and really, it's mostly up to me. There's not really nothing else to it. Unfortunately, no luck involved. But I'll tell you where luck is involved. Actually, it's not. I'm just kidding. Um, here is the topic for this vlog is, what is your moon? What's your moon? And that's a purveying thought that I see thrown around on the Bitcoin subreddit and other related subreddits, amongst people. I'm gonna guess it's mostly new people coming into the space who think that there is a time to cash out, so maybe they want to just double their money and then get out and be happy with their winnings. And I think that's part of the reason why Bitcoin's price has been shooting up, or why it shot up astronomically. I think all the new people coming into the space, wanting to hit their moon. But what I hope most of them realize, and what I hope people get from this, is that there is no moon. Getting into Bitcoin is moon. As soon as you get into Bitcoin, you are effectively saying no to our legacy financial system. You are opting out of the problematic inflation mechanic that we can't do anything about. And Bitcoin brings us the complete opposite, which is a deflationary currency, deflationary money. There is a distinction between the two, I know. But yeah, opting out of the inflationary currency and going into a deflationary currency, I think is best for everybody. This talk is supposed to be about finding the moon, and I'm going to, of course, bring a little bit of economics into it. My idea of a better society is one that is less wasteful. And now we start getting into deep conversation where people ask, well, what is meaningful, like what is wasteful consumerism versus what is just, if somebody wants to buy X amount of clothing that deteriorates really quickly, as opposed to something that doesn't deteriorate quickly, well, shouldn't that just be up to them, and shouldn't the economy decide that? And I think yes and no. And then I do think we start to get into political issues again, where the question becomes, well, do we just let the government decide whether we should be making goods that don't deteriorate within 2 months, and then you have to go buy new stuff? And if you're wondering what I'm referring to, is there is this issue with the clothing industry, mostly on the women's side, where clothing women get not just go out of fashion quickly, but they actually deteriorate in quality and in their ability for use. Of course, you're wondering, Andy, how do you know about this stuff? Well, I tend to wear women's clothing from time to time. Just kidding. I have a girlfriend, and she tells me about these things. It's very informative, interesting, really. Anyway, going back to our moon, what is your moon? I guess in your head you might have thought, well, let's see, if I put in $2,000 and I double it, then I get out. But then think about it. What are you getting out of and back into is the dollar, an inflationary currency. Unless you're finding other assets that are worth taking the money out of Bitcoin and then putting it into another asset that's also going to appreciate or protect your earnings, then I'd say go for it. But up till now, I don't see any other asset like Bitcoin. And I say that because if you consider putting the money that you do gain from Bitcoin into stocks, think about the kind of asset that you've moved out of and back into. You've moved into an asset that's, one, based in dollars, and two, doesn't have anywhere near the same properties that Bitcoin has. And what I mean by that is you can't send a stock from A to B and expect to easily use it as a currency. There's all these middlemen that are going to cut into you moving your stock from point A to point B. So, if you're trying to move value around with stocks, That's a terrible idea. You'd want to use a cryptocurrency. Hopefully Bitcoin, once the meme pool dies down a bit, once we eat into all those transactions, and once we of course get Lightning Network, and everybody implements SegWit, then of course we'll be sitting a lot prettier to be sending all these transactions in Bitcoin. All that was to say, you don't want to be moving value around in stocks. So yeah, any other assets that I can think of off the top of my head? If you want to move into gold, well, let's talk about a manipulated market where you can just pretend that you have gold by having a piece of paper, which of course defeats the purpose of gold's value proposition. You don't fling a paper around and say you have Bitcoin. No, you either have the Bitcoin or you don't. And that's the big difference there between gold, having your money in an asset like gold versus Bitcoin, where if you tell people you have your asset in gold, they can't check that. They can't check that unless they go to your house and they touch the gold. Yeah, I was just thinking about the time when I was a kid and my friend Jimmy told me that he had a pet dragon, and I believed him as a kid because that was awesome. I wanted him to have a pet dragon, but you can't believe people when they tell you they have something unless you can verify it somehow. And that's the beauty of Bitcoin, is that you can actually verify that they have something. It's amazing. But yeah, long story short, trying to bring it all back full circle. If you buy Bitcoin expecting a moon, which means the point where you exit the asset into a lot more money than what you started with, you're missing the point. With Bitcoin, there is no moon. Moving into Bitcoin is moon. The Bitcoin value goes up in price to a point where you don't move out of a valuable asset like Bitcoin into something like the dollar, which is depreciating. You just use Bitcoin on your day-to-day transactions. That is moon. So yeah, moon out. I mean, Andy out.